listeners, my name is Dawn Houston. I'm the coordinator for Booktrib's book club program. I'm here today with author Cheryl Grey Bostrom to talk about her novel, Leaning on Air, a story of love, loss, and the power of second chances. Leaning on Air is one of the selections available in Booktrib's book club program for June. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today, Cheryl.
So good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, we only have about 5 minutes, so let's dive in, shall we?
Let's do it.
No spoilers, but what can you share about the book that we wouldn't find on the jacket cover necessarily?
Well, on the cover, you see mentioned Celia and Burnaby, who plunge into this unusual love affair, this love story. But what the cover doesn't say is that Celia is passionate, she's adrift, and she really yearns for physical touch, physical affection. But Burnaby is very principled. He's autistic, and his touch makes her skin crawl. So what can go wrong, right?
No
Uh,
kidding.
but they're both PhD scientists, and they have a keen affection for math, science, and the natural world. She's an ornithologist. He's an equine surgeon. And they plunge into this beautiful, very unusual love story until a catastrophe strikes and she forgets how mightily she loved him. And I think that what the cover doesn't represent is how this is such an unusual relationship, but it connects through a whole raft of memorable characters um, and a lot of mystery and suspense in the story, ways that we can learn to love one another. So yeah, I
I
think that
love
probably
that. It feels very not because you said that they're both scientists, but that was one of the things that struck me when I read Lessons in Chemistry is that was such I loved that book. But they had such a unique relationship and two people that you just didn't think would be together. So yeah, I love
exactly.
that. Um, why do you think, it sounds like there's lots of themes built into your book, but I'd love to hear about why you think Leaning on Air would make such a great book club selection. What will we talk about?
Well, already on Goodreads and Amazon reviews, people are talking about how unique this. I keep hearing that it's such a unique story, and there are a number of reviewers who have already said they've never read a book like this. They've never heard a story like this, and so that was, of course, my goal to create a story that would appeal to readers in a way they wouldn't have imagined and can't predict the outcome. So there's that. Um, they're also commenting that the writing is very lyrical and very beautiful, and I'm a poet at heart, so that's another goal. And they've
Right.
also said that they didn't want to put it down and they didn't want it to end, and and that it's not just a love story. And like you said, it is very layered. There are themes in there, of course, that talk about marriage, both with an autistic partner, as well as marriage for those of us who have been married for a while or who have experienced big trauma or big loss, and all of us with different needs and how to meet them. There's also a really interesting part that has appealed um, to readers, men and women, readers of all different perspectives on the whole science, faith, nature intersect. And Burnaby, as a physicist, ties quantum mechanics to his marriage and to his faith, and Celia just isn't buying it. And so we've got very diverse perspectives, which make for a fabulous discussion. There's also a sub-theme in there about care for the land. We've got commercial agriculture, this farm that Celia flees to after this great grief is a wheat farm. And so there's a good bit in there, very, very close up about caring for the land. And there's a native prairie in there and discussion about ecological care for native habitat. And without getting political, it's not a political book and it's not meant to be didactic, but through experience, readers have an opportunity to participate in these themes. And we're going to have a lot of viewpoints. And I've done a few book clubs already, and the discussions are all over the place. It's just great. There's also a theme in there on recovery from childhood trauma, recovery from loss or from grief. And it really ties into my belief that healing is intrinsic to the land and intrinsic to us as individuals and intrinsic to relationships. And Celia disagrees with that for a long time in the book. So readers will have various perspectives on that as well. And then I think finally that if you're a nature lover, this book just immerses you in the natural world. And I consider myself a nature writer. And so there will be a lot of surprises in there for readers.
Wow. Is this your first novel?
It's the second one, and the first one was set in, this one's set in Southeast Washington, and the first one called Sugar Birds was set in Northwest Washington, and that's where Celia and Burnaby meet as teens. And so this, while this is a standalone novel, it is a companion novel to the first one.
Fascinating. I love the layered approach you took to this, and the fact that it is so lyrical. It's definitely being added to my immediate TBR. I don't always get the chance to read the books before I get the opportunity to interview the authors, but this one sounds fantastic and right up my alley, and I know our book clubs are going to love it. So thank you for that. That was wonderful. We're going to veer off your book a little bit because once we're all done reading, Leaning on Air, what's the best book you've read in the last little while, and why should I add it to my list?
Well, this one was a surprise for me. I was actually looking for comps for this book. And so I was looking for nature novels, but it is Kent Myers' The Work of Wolves, and it's set in South Dakota, and it just has everything I love in it and everything I try to write. He's got, it's a remarkable psychological study, but just these characters that are so memorable and so unique. And of course, set in rural South Dakota, this little town out there where really the land becomes a character in and of itself. And then his characters are just so well drawn and so surprising and so complete. And then of course a compelling storyline. You know, this is upmarket fiction. I guess it's a term that's not used a lot, but it's a blend of this character-driven literary fiction with a compelling plot that you just really don't want to put down, and yet you want to go back and savor. You know? And that's the stuff I love to read. It's what I want to write. And this book, I just, I blogged about it and I just said, I just love this book. And it's very lyrical, where you just kind of catch your breath at some of his phrasing.
Oh, I'm excited to read that as well. Thank you. I absolutely feel 100% confident that we could probably talk all day about your books, nature, your characters, but I know you were also on vacation, and I think we need to wrap this up. So thank you so much for your time again.
Thanks for having me, and this worked out just really well. I'm going to go do some hiking, and I look forward to
we could talk about that too. I climbed a mountain this last weekend, so yes. Okay, so for more information about Cheryl's book, please check out the book club page on the booktrib.com website. Good luck with everything, Cheryl.
Thanks so much, Don.